Hi, welcome back to Flipping Pages, Stirring Sauces. My gratitude to those of you who have liked, shared, and subscribed. And I'm requesting that you like, share, and subscribe. I would like to say that it is time that those of us who have refused to drink the Kool-Aid stop being so nice. I think it is time for us to sue some people personally. I've heard that with the upcoming strike vote and the upcoming union meetings, members of the union are being told non-lemonade drinkers are not allowed in our building. Let me tell you something. Discrimination is still illegal in Canada. It's very easy to sue somebody, but it's a little harder to defend an action against you. I'm not a lawyer, but in order to defend an action against you, you need $5,000 to $10,000 in retainer to pay that lawyer just to file the paperwork. So, for those of you who are talking crap about the people who have not drank the lemonade are not allowed in our building, I suggest you make accommodations for those people. Now, tonight, I'm going to be talking about the lemonade drinkers, and the people who refuse to drink the lemonade. And I'm also going to be talking about Purolator. But first, I want to remind you about my online store that will be up and running soon. And I want to remind you that this book will be featured there. It's called Too Precious to Love, written by me. And along with that, I will be offering my Platinum Sugar Hair Removal Kit, as well as my gluten-free, egg-free, dairy-free baked products. And later on, I will be featuring this book, also written by me, called The Mistakes Were Mine to Make. And a little later on, I will be featuring this book on the online store, and it is called Morning in Silence, also written by me. Now, I guess I should read the Copyright Act before moving on. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Now, I love men. I'm an old-fashioned girl, and I like to be pampered. I like it when a man opens the car door for me and closes it behind me. I like it when a man pulls out my chair and pushes it under me for me to sit down. I like getting my head massaged, and I love when men do nice, naughty, wicked things to my toes. And I love to curl up in the arms of a man who loves me. I love to feel his arms caressing my body. So by no way am I a man hater. I love men. And I say that to say this. I've come to the realization that we have a bunch of imbeciles representing us in Parliament, and the majority of them are men. Men who has never read the Charter of Rights or the Emergency Act. And if they have no comprehension, or they've not comprehended what they've read. If they had, they would not have supported that fringe minority, Justin Trudeau, in the illegal acts that he unleashed on Canadians. What Trudeau did was a very grave crime, and he should be put in iron bracelets and thrown in jail without bail. And under the copyright section of the Copyright Act, I'm going to be showing you what the world is saying about Justin Trudeau, that fringe minority racist. I'm just pulling it up.
Appropriate for Mr. Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, to address this House according to Article 144, an article which was specifically designed to debate violations of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law, which is clearly the case with Mr. Trudeau. Then again, a Prime Minister who openly admires the Chinese basic dictatorship, who tramples on fundamental rights by persecuting and criminalizing his own citizens as terrorists, just because they dared to stand up to his perverted concept of democracy, should not be allowed to speak in this House at all. Mr. Trudeau, you are a disgrace for any democracy. Please spare us your presence. Thank you.
I could not have said it any better myself. Kudos to that woman who stood up and had the guts to speak the truth about that thug we call a prime minister. Tamara Leach needs to be released, and the judge who is keeping her in jail needs to be locked up and kept in jail without bail. Tamara Leach is a political prisoner. And I am reminded of a conversation I was involved with my sister Heather and my sister Denise. And my sister Heather wrote something. She wrote that Canada has now become one of the far off places that we used to hear about and read about. And we can thank Justin Trudeau for the dictatorship that Canada has become. And we can thank him for turning us into one of those far off places we used to hear about. Jagmeet Singh, you also need to go to jail. You're a disgrace to your community and an insult to sheeps. I am amazed at the people who are still running around with the face diapers that does not protect them from anything. For 3 weeks, the peaceful protesters in Ottawa danced, sang, ate, laughed, gave speeches, and lived a communal lifestyle without these face diapers. If what we've been told was true, the hospitals in Ottawa should have been overrun with cases. People should have been taken out in droves to the hospital. There should have been a dramatic increase in cases in that area. I am still waiting to hear about the massive spike in Ottawa, and there is no such report. Just some food for thought for those of you who are still clinging to those face diapers. Now, they lied about guns being found in a truck at one of the border crossings. They lied about the protesters wanting to overthrow the government. And the majority of Canadians who do not read or research for themselves believed every word of it. The 1% created an atmosphere of fear, and around the world, and that drove ordinary, rational people into becoming sheeple, who stopped using their common sense. Remove fear from the equation, and you take your power back. The Creator, the Most High, the Ancient of Days, Awa, the Giver of Breath, did not give us the spirit of fear. That other little entity did that. And we have more power in our little finger than he has. We have the ability to say, "Get thee behind me." And that little entity obeys. That little entity gave people the spirit of fear. When this thing first came out, melanated people didn't die from it. When melanated people said, "This is not ours, it is not for us," all of a sudden, the major amount of people dying from this world monster were melanated people. Then it was reported that children are not affected by it. All of a sudden, not only were children affected by it, but a child actually died from it. No one seemed to notice that it was a chess game For every situation that didn't fit with what they were pushing, there was a counter move. A counter move to push and support what they were pushing. One drink of the lemonade was supposed to fix everything and make you invincible against the monster that had taken over the world. When that one drink didn't work, the monster had to break through the barrier that was supposed to contain it. So another drink of lemonade was needed, and then another, and another. And when the lemonade didn't work, it is to lessen the effects of the monster on you and make your stay in a medical facility shorter. Even with drinking all that lemonade, the monster still got loose and killed people and made people sick. Comes fall of 2022, they're going to try to lock us down again and try to put us back in those face diapers. This time, they're going to call it an environmental lockdown. We as a people need to take fear out of the equation and say no. Let me say that again. Human beings need to take fear out of the equation and say no. We are not going back into slavery or bondage. That is what the past 2 years have been. And the only reason it worked is because people were afraid. People need to read. People need to do their research. And for those of you who are clinging to those face diapers, you're giving the 1% your energy. Let me tell you a little story about those face diapers. During the days of slavery, some slaves were forced to wear a face diaper. And the significance of them wearing that face diaper was to say, this person, do not speak for him or herself. Someone else speaks for this person. This person doesn't have the right of speech. This person cannot speak for themselves. That is the significance of the face diaper. People need to do their research and find out what was. Because what was is what is today. And for the past 2 years, others were speaking for us. And if one of us dared to speak and it didn't go with the narrative that they were pushing, we were censored and our platform was threatened and got a mark against us. So, maybe it's time to give up that face diaper permanently. The father of my children, I have 2 swollen calves. That looks like nice, juicy, ripe mangoes because he's retaining water. and he now has a severe case of heart disease. He's having his chest bone sawed open next month so that they can get to his organs and unblock his arteries. Don't tell him that it is from drinking the lemonade. He won't believe, even though it has been documented that what he is experiencing is identical to other cases that are as a result of drinking the lemonade. He also still believes that guns were found in a truck at one of the border crossings. He still believes that the convoy, the Freedom Convoy of truckers, was in Ottawa to overthrow the government because he only pays attention to mainstream media and doesn't live in the real world. This is a man who, prior to drinking the lemonade, was having full and complete medical assessments every 3 to 6 months because of his history with cancer. And heart disease was not an issue that was identified. All of a sudden, 2 weeks after taking his second drink of the lemonade, he has major heart disease. And I'm not convinced that his cancer came out of nowhere. Yes, cancer runs in his family. Pancreatic cancer. His mother died from pancreatic cancer, his sister died from pancreatic cancer, and his brother died from pancreatic cancer. Cancer he has is not pancreatic cancer. And I will tell you what the common thread with all of them is. There's another Kool-Aid that came out before this Kool-Aid that they drank every fall. And I would say to him, do not drink that other Kool-Aid or that other lemonade, because that other lemonade doesn't allow your immune system to do what it is supposed to do. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving medical advice, but for people living in a residence, and every year one person drinks that other lemonade and the other 3 people do not drink that other lemonade, and every year that person gets the flu, sometimes pneumonia. But the other 3 people who are not drinking that other lemonade, even though they're around him, doesn't get a flu. Some food for thought. On to Purolator. On page 16 of the arbitrator's decision, he states, to conclude, the Big C policy is authorized by the collective agreement. It was established to address a serious health and safety issue in the workplace. And he also mentioned that it was in keeping with human rights. I would like to know what collective agreement he's referring to, because until we ratify a new collective agreement, the one that is currently in place does not address the big C. And mandates do not supersede the law or the Charter of Rights, nor do they supersede the Nuremberg Codes, the Geneva Convention, the United Nations treaties, and a myriad of other constitutions and treaties. The Purolator policy attempted to take away basic human rights and give them attempted to take away basic human rights. And I would like to know which portion of the Human Rights Act or who at the Human Rights Tribunal gave them the authority and the power to take away our basic human rights. If I have anything to say about it, this arbitrator Matthew Wilson will have to explain himself to a judge. Now, on or around September 17th, 2021, I hand-delivered my liability notice to the office of John Ferguson. I handed it to his assistant, to someone who claimed to be his assistant. And on September 20, 2021, I hand-delivered it to Fatima Resendez, the HR manager at Purolator. To date, I have not had the courtesy of a response to that liability notice. January 9th, 2022 at 5:23 a.m. I requested a copy of Gary West's medical license to practice medicine in Ontario. I requested it from Gary West, as well as from Fatima Resendez, HR manager at Purolator, and Amkar Maharaj at Teamsters. To date, I have not had the courtesy of a response. January 12, 2022, I wrote to Amkar Maharaj and copied John Ferguson, asking when Purolator was going to abide by Article 10.1 II of the collective agreement. To date, I have not had the courtesy of a response to that request. On January 18, 2022, I wrote to Amkar Maharaj and John Ferguson again, CEO and President of Purolator Inc. And what I got back from Amkar Maharaj, I will read it to you. Just bear with me. I don't know if you can see that some of this is in red. What Amkar Maharaj did, he went into the body of my email and responded in red in the body of my email. I think that that might be considered to be plagiarism. I should have looked that up to be certain, but I didn't. But if this is plagiarism, Amkar Maharaj is going to have to explain to a judge why he plagiarized my letter. I wrote, please provide me with a copy of said decision no later than March 7, 2022. He wrote back, the local union has carriage of all grievances. In that same email, I stated, the grievance dated January 10, 2022 is separate and apart from the issue that is being arbitrated. It deals with Purolator's violation of my rights under the collective agreement, and I would like to know when the grievance will be heard. An unreasonable amount of time has passed since it was filed. He wrote back, regardless of the verbiage in the grievance you filed, the core issue is Purolator put you on a leave of absence for violation of their COVID policy. Teamsters Local Union 938 has grieved Purolator's Big C policy and is waiting for the arbitrator's award ruling. Well, I'm glad he has put it in writing that Purolator put me off on a leave of absence. I did not initiate that leave of absence. Purolator took our collective agreement that is there to protect us and violated it by putting us off on leave of absences. And I don't give a flying fig about Matthew Wilson's ruling. I want my grievance heard, because what has been done is a violation of the collective agreement. I also wrote, I will no longer disclose my future plans or actions with respect to your inaction. You will just see the results. He took that as a threat. Well, it wasn't meant as a threat, but if he wants to take it as a threat, then by all means. I also wrote, I am confirming that you have ignored all of my previous requests, written and verbal. He wrote, I beg to differ. This statement is not accurate. Well, let me restate. I am confirming that you have ignored the majority of my previous requests, written and verbal. On March 3rd, 2022, I wrote to John Ferguson and Amkar Maharaj and requested a copy of the arbitrator's decision. And I also requested again a date for my grievances to be heard. What I got back was an email on March 7th from a person by the name of Daryl Ayashi, Director of Labor Relations. And all he wrote was, I am in receipt of your email that was sent to John Ferguson. That's all he said. On March 8, 2022, Amkar Maharaj wrote back. Okay, I already addressed that. But he stated that the arbitration of the 29th of January 2022 was not expedited but normal. I have a memo written by him stating that it was expedited. So which time was he lying? Or was he doing so both times? He further went on to write that the arbitrator's award is still outstanding as of today. He advised me that the local union has carriage of all grievances, as if he is not their business agent. On March 24, 2022, I again wrote to John Ferguson and Omkar Maharaj requesting a copy of the arbitrator's decision. To date, I have not had the courtesy of a response. Now, Purolator has not advised the staff of the arbitrator's decision, and Teamsters, or the Canada Council of Teamsters, has not advised its members of the arbitrator's decision. Myself and other people have called, written to Omkar Maharaj, and have requested a copy of this document, and all we have gotten is the runaround. That's all we've gotten, the runaround. Now, Purolator is not above the law. The Canada Council of Teamsters is not above the law. The collective agreement is a legally binding contract. The Canada Council of Teamsters has been complacent and have breached said contract. Purolator has breached said contract. I and a lot of my coworkers have no confidence in the Canada Council of Teamsters, and I have already requested every penny back that I've paid out to them, and I intend to collect every penny. If close to 300 people request their money back that they have paid out to this poor excuse for a union, maybe they will start representing their members properly. I would like to know who the lawyer is that represented us, the members of Local 938, in these hearings. How much was he paid? We have the right to know what is being done with our money. It is time to change the way unions operate in this country. They need to be accountable. They need to provide us with a breakdown of how they're spending our money, what they're doing with it. We cannot just arbitrarily turn over our hard-earned dollars to these shysters and not be allowed to ask questions and not be allowed to ask how they're spending our money. I want to know what they've done with my union dues. And I've already requested my union dues back. So how many more of us are going to stand up and say, I want my union dues back? How many more of us are going to file our complaints with the Industrial Relations Board to say we have no confidence in this union and that this union has not represented us and that we want our union dues back and that we want them removed? Because when the majority of people stand up and say to the Labor Board, we have no confidence in this union, the Labor Board have no choice but to remove them. Now, For the individual out there who is spending money trying to hurt and injure me, or trying to break me financially, as I've said before, my angels have built a wall of protection around me. The Creator is above me, and the Creator is inside of me. Test Him and see what happens. Karma is a biatch, and she never forgets an address. And one other thing, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Sometimes you should leave that horse right where it is. Sometimes you shouldn't bother taking that horse to water. Just leave it right where it is. I am at peace with myself. I am at peace with my world. And I am at peace with my Awa, the giver of breath, the Creator, the Most High, the Ancient of Days, Yahweh, Ahaya. I give you my peace, my Baruch, and Shalom.